magic of the Cybernet Space Cube, the computer-enhanced podcast of the future. Transformers Slag Podcast.
What's up, everybody? How we all doing this Saturday night? It's the Transformers Slag Podcast Saturday live stream main event. I'm your host, Proto Man, the face that runs this place. I'm the voice you hear Monday to Friday, and it is Saturday. That's why Cringe McCringle said I should be watching WrestleMania. We'll get into that in a moment. I'm going to be watching at a friend's tomorrow. I think he'll be in the chat even tonight. How we all doing? It's the Saturday Night live stream main event of the Slag Podcast, and we're going to be talking Transformers. We're going to be covering some of the news this week, some stuff that we didn't cover during the week. We're going to cover tonight, little things here and there. Cool stuff that we did. We did a little awesome haul of stuff, hitting up the dying Toys R Us's in Canada, let's put it that way. Yeah, somebody needs a shave. I'll get into that too. It was this week, because it's the first warm weather here in Canada, and tire season has gone full throttle. So my car's ready, all my friends' cars are ready. But needless to say, Proto Man's been changing a whole bunch of tires. The microphone's a little wonky, is it? Does it sound weird? Do I sound weird, or is it just a special case of weirdness? But how are we all doing? So let's get into some news. We'll cover some stuff. We'll take some super chats. We got cool stuff to talk about. Cool little things here and there. And Mike is a bit off. Is it now? Is it now? That is weird. Is the microphone finally dying after all these years? That is weird. Hopefully I'll figure that out. I don't know. Maybe it's the audio. Let me check the auxiliary. Auxiliary looks okay. I don't know. I do not know. Joseph Ryder already in the super chat question. Thoughts on the size of new combiners? I mean, they're more or less a good consistency. I'm really curious to see when they're going to do some of the characters that are much larger. I mean, I want to see displays of Menasor next to the Bruticus, next to the Devastator, next to our HasLab, team. I want to see like Lio Kaiser. I want to see what they're going to do with Superion, and then the big question for the more beefier combiners, stuff like a Predaking that historically has been a larger combiner than, say, even a Devastator. It's something that I don't know. I need to see them all together, because when we're talking about size, I mean, there's always been a weird inconsistency. The way Combiner Wars did it was kind of all over the place. And I'm not saying they were bad. I'm just saying there really wasn't a consistency. And then when you look at something like how Predaking was handled as a Titan class or a Devastator, it just kind of is like, oh boy, okay. So we'll see. But I like what I see thus far of the combiners that we've gotten thus far. I'm very curious to see how Bruticus is going to turn out, just because there's a lot of freshness in that. I mean, I'm a car guy, but I find Menasor is just a bunch of cars. Aerial bots are just a bunch of planes. Bruticus, it's going to be interesting to see a nice diversity of different kinds of alt modes and stuff, and how that's going to be used in the long run. Even in the case of Devastator, no shade on it, but it's a bunch of construction vehicles, so it'd be nice to see that. But thank you for the question, Joseph, and welcome to the madness. So let's cover some questions here and there to answer Roman just quickly, also, because it looks like everyone's already started with questions before we get into the news. TFCon Chicago, it's about 90% I'm going to be there. The only reason why I say 90%, it's so far away that it's hard to predict if something happens between now and then. Like TFCon Toronto, I will be, if I do my schedule coming up, TFCon Toronto, I will be there. San Diego Comic-Con, I will be there. I'm trying to think of what else we have there. Otakuthon Montreal, I will be there. TFCon Chicago, when is that? October? It's still so far away in my mind, considering I have so many other big shows in between that. It's not really on my mind right now. Short of something happening or Aaron not going or whatever, Because a big reason of me doing a lot of these shows, if Aaron goes, then I'll go. You know what I mean? Because then I have a good base of operations and stuff. It makes it a lot easier to kind of do stuff. I like hanging out with Aaron, so that also makes it fun too. We only really get to hang out at these conventions. So that kind of makes it, oh no, Mr. Tankies, what have you done? Oh no, Mr. Tankies. Here comes all the alerts. I'm going to have to shut off just the alerts temporarily. Thank you, Mr. Tankies. You just gave a whole bunch of people some memberships. And where is Ninjatron? Because I wonder if he got it. Oh my goodness. Craziness. Thank you again, Mr. Tankies, for all of that craziness. Great stuff. But yeah, again, TFCon is like, oh, Young, you didn't get one. Oh, that sucks. But Young, you're a Montrealer. You don't need one. So Montreal exclusive. Um, it's something where, again, because the Chicago one is so far away, I don't I always, my rule is I always worry about what the next show is, and I just think about that one until that one's behind me. And at that point, I mean, if I don't count like events, like let's say Free Comic Book Day, it's going to be in May or something. I'm really just focusing on TFCon Toronto right now. I have a lot of surprises. If you will be at TFCon Toronto, there will be a new, like, first of all, you will be able to get, well, I don't have it near me, uh, the Pokemon little set exclusive. Canadians will get an opportunity to pick that up. That will be at TFCon Toronto. I have an extra bonus exclusive that will be made exclusively for Toronto and my patrons. So if they're curious about getting that one, that will be available too. I'll try to make sure I can get it to maybe Chicago also. It's really hard to measure how well stuff sells, and I have to have more made. So it's all kinds of that madness. So stay tuned for that. That'll be something that'll be coming TFCon Toronto, and a whole bunch of other cool stuff. Again, I'm really just focusing on Toronto right now because I have a whole bunch of stuff. Once Toronto is behind me, then the next show is San Diego Comic-Con. Everyone knows that's the biggest show of the year, so I got to really focus on that one. That's meeting with Hasbro people, Capcom people, Udon people. That's when the Mega Man comic book's going to now be out, and I'm going to be doing panels and signings, and it's going to be crazy that weekend. VIP breakfast with Hasbro, all that stuff. So that's going to be and then when I get that behind me, then it's what? Then after that is Otakuthon, Montreal, the second biggest anime convention in North America. So then I have to focus on that one. I have a booth there. There's going to be all kinds of craziness with that one. So all of that stuff, planning, bringing stuff, traveling, bringing exclusives, bringing toys, setup, like Chicago, it's happening. It's about, I always say 90% because I don't want to make a promise. And Ninjatron didn't get backing. Oh my God. Ninjatron didn't get Dylan, you didn't get the membership. Someone gave out a bunch again. So take care, Dylan. Go watch WrestleMania. But yeah, so that's a lot of what's going on with that. So Cringe McCringle, Proto's going to have a new exclusive, and you got a table. Yes, Cringe will have a table selling a whole bunch of good Transformer product. Cringe has been a regular as a dealer at the past few TF cons, crushing it with his crew. T-Formers. Who else is out at your table usually? Cringe. I know T-Formers there. Gosh, I'm forgetting who else was at the table. I'm so bad. But Chicago is about 90%. Toronto, 100%. SDCC, 100%. Those are the two next shows in July. That's the focus right now. I mean, Otakuthon, it's in the same city as me, so there's no chance of me missing that one out. But we will see. So let's get into it. What's Young saying? Ernest and I were talking about your booth at confirmed we will see you. Yeah, I was actually contacted that I'm going to get a booth there, so I have to just talk to them in person about some logistics. But let's get into the news. Sorry to derail from the madness. What did we have in here? So we have Cringe here. We have Clyde. We have Young. We have Horned Owl. We got James. Man, we got a whole bunch of people today. We'll get into everyone. Just bring on the super chats and all the YouTube member questions. Cringe says your booth was T-Formers 2002 Pathfinder Stitch. Oh, it's true. Stitch was there. That's right. An Italian Hoagie. Italian Hoagie was selling stuff though. I didn't know if he was selling. I know he was there. And Larry, I will see you tomorrow. um, we'll talk WrestleMania stuff later tonight on the stream. Just we'll save it first for the other stuff. So let's start with some Transformer news. We'll start first, of course, with Transformers Wild King. Transformer Wild King. We got some campaign items. We talked about them last week, but we didn't have the full story. We only had pretty much the Toys R Us part of it. But it looks like multiple different toy retailers will be doing Transformers Wild King promotions. Again, spend more than 5,000 yen on Transformers Wild King product at select locations. And depending on that location, you will get an exclusive energy weapon set of a sword and shield, which is a translucent repaint of the old Fall of Cybertron Voyager class 2013 Grimlock. So check that out. Again, if I remember correctly, Jusco is the clear blue, and one of the camera ones is the clear green. I mean, there's so many, but if you're in the Japan area, and get yourself a cool little exclusive set to use for all your different Energy Beast characters or your Convoy or Megatron, looking really cool. Again, it really shows that Takara Tomy is really getting behind this series. I'm hoping that this turns out really well and there's a good reception. And then these short little episodes that we're getting act as a pilot towards maybe a longer series that's fleshed out. That's what I'm hoping. That's a pie in the sky kind of thing. But still very cool. Still very, very cool. Hoagie was just hanging out. Okay, that's what I thought, because I don't remember mentioning he was selling anything. So then, and of course, also reminder, don't forget that this Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Japan time, which will be the 23rd, be the 22nd for us, April 22nd, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, will be the next episode 4 of Transformers Wild King, the arrival of Hydrophant, the elephant water beast character. So check that out too. That'll be on the Takara Tomy YouTube channel. Let's also give a shout out to fellow Canadian Carlos, aka Black Renegade. He is one of the few individuals that picked up Vortex early and then took a nice, beautiful photo shot of how the Bruticus is going to work, pretty much, and a lot of the rumors of different sizes and price points and how they're going to be laid out. Now everything is kind of laid to rest here with this instruction scan that Carlos did, and he did a fantastic job. And here's how Bruticus is going to look. And again, it kind of continues that split element and putting all those pieces. And this time around, they're going to be front-loading for the legs, where the past two combiners we have had rear-loading legs for the alt modes. These ones are going to be front-loaded, the Swindle and the Brawl. So that's pretty cool to mix it up a little bit, and also making it screen accurate, because they were front-loaded with the original show models. Anyhow, you know what? Now that I think about it, one moment. How do I have my G1 Devastator? Oh, I did it backloaded. Maybe I should mix it up. Was looking at my old Scramble City ones, but yeah. So these are going to be front-loaded, different kind of mix-up and everything. I'm really curious how Onslaught's going to turn out, because he's one of those guys that has such a unique design that it's all over the place sometimes. So we will see. We will see. Cringe McCringle says, looking forward to Bruticus. He's my favorite combiner. Well, again, you like Bruticus. I like Defensor. You probably like them for the same reasons. It's a good mix of designs. Like, that's what I like about it. You know, Bruticus too. It's like, hey, it's a space shuttle, but it's a jeep, but it's a tank, but it's a helicopter, and then a giant like aircraft carrier, like almost. It's kind of it. Onslaught's kind of like this tank, like aircraft carrier kind of thing going on. So it's a good mix of stuff where it's like, again, no shade to like Superion and stuff, but it's like it's just jets, you know. And yes, it's a bunch of different ones, but it is what it is. Joseph with the $5 super chat. Thoughts on Megatronus? I think his mouth grill makes him look like he has a goofy smile. Kind of ruins it for me. Well, it really has to depend with. Let me just reach for the original here. Go into the old Titanium's display. Ugh. Let me go grab him. So he's kind of based off, of course, the old Pat Lee designed Titanium's / War Within comic book. Obviously, this came much later after the comic book did. But yeah, it's kind of just based off of that one, which, I could appreciate them throwing back to that old design and stuff. I mean, up to that point, the best one was a Titanium figure, which, let me tell you something. Anyone that's ever messed with those old Titanium figures, let's just say, yeah, they are hit or miss, a lot of them. I think like the best one is probably the Cheetor, or maybe, I don't want to sound biased, but maybe even the Rodimus was good. Maybe the Grimlock, but that one's a more tougher one to get. So he always had that interesting design. Again, they kind of wanted to look at the history of the Fallen, and Megatronus has been one of those characters that has been the most featured, but also has the most different designs. He has like this one, that one, movie designs and everything. So where do you find that happy medium? And I think they probably looked at what they've done up to this point, and they went, you know what? Why don't we go back to that old Dreamwave design and kind of like bring that back? You use all the blast effects for the flames, because that's what the Fallen was all about, was all those flames and stuff. And they just kind of put decos on the back of the tank treads to kind of indicate those flames. But I appreciate it. I think it's cool. I haven't picked him up yet. I haven't even seen him in person at all. But even then, he's a leader. And in Canada, leader classes are like, might as well spend $100 on a leader. So it's like, I might wait that one out. And again, they're all wave one, so I'm not too much in a rush with wave one anything. I mean, I think Prima is the only one that I think I'll probably buy on the spot if I see him. But that's about it, really. But thank you for the super chat. And hope you're enjoying Megatronus. The three that I want the most from Wave 1 is, again, Superion and them. They're cool, but at the same time, I'm not in a rush to get the combiners anytime soon. I'll be able to pick them up later. But I'd love to get Solus, I'd love to get Megatronus, and I'd love to get Prima, because those are original 13 characters. They just, with the exception of Megatronus, never had decent figures. So it's just nice to get something done officially in some shape or form. So very, very cool. And again, thanks for the super chat. Let's get into the next one here. We have this one comes from Baidu, the Chinese message board, and the next teaser of what is going to be Transformers Missing Link. So a individual on the Chinese message boards who's been quite reliable in the past when it comes to leaks and stuff, by the name of Cybertron, I think it's called Sabertron International or Sabertron International. That's how it translates in Chinese. He pretty much dropped in our lap saying we're going to be getting a Missing Link Grimlock and a Missing Link Ultra Magnus. Now, the Grimlock, that's a given. Like that original mold is just lost to time, and it'd just be cool to have it updated. It's kind of the same story like the Sunstreaker, another mold that was lost to time, and that'd just be cool to have them updated. And again, it's Grimlock. That if you're going to pick a top tier character that's going to sell, it's going to be Grimlock. So that'll be very cool to see how they tackle that and do like a more screen accurate one with the articulations of. I mean, the original Grimlock toy is pretty awesome to begin with. It's one of the better ones, primarily because the Dinobots, if you look at the Diaclone history of design, they were literally made and released in Japan the same year G1 debuted in America. So like we were looking at, let's say like November, like 1984, first couple of episodes of G1 are out there, and those Diaclone Dinobots have just debuted a couple months prior to that in Japan. So they were like later designed Diaclone designs that clearly had a better engineering compared to, say, those earlier Diaclone designs that were almost late 70s in conception, especially those Autobot cars and stuff. So very excited about Grimlock. The Ultra Magnus, that one, I'm kind of like, are they just going to do the white Optimus Prime repaint. They already have the tooling from the Missing Link convoy. Or are they going to do the armor? And if they're going to do the armor, are they going to do what that box art there, right there in the middle is doing, where it's going to have a knee bend? Because, again, that armor was a brick for years. If they do the armor, that is going to be some wild stuff because they're going to have to put a ton of bends into that. But at the same time, I'm almost kind of not excited about it because Ultra Magnus has gotten a ton of reissues throughout the years, a ton of new versions throughout the years. And I understand why they're doing it because they have that Optimus Prime mold. They might as well do it. But I am very curious how they're going to go about it. I kind of hope they just take the old G1 toy and just give it the craziest amount of articulation that it's impressive. I know people had concerns, though, about how much they're going to cost because they already look at the RC and go like, oh my God, RC is almost like $100 a piece. How much is an Ultra Magnus going to cost? Good point. Fair point, really. Probably will be maybe 120, 130. And for a Missing Link for 120 or 130, based off of a mold that people have bought many times over, reissued twice in America, reissued like 4 times in Japan, not even counting like bootleg side versions and third-party releases and everything. So it is what it is. But I am kind of curious, and you guys can answer it, like, who would you like to see, though? Because I know that people like when I posed the question in the individual segment, people were saying Megatron. And that one I firmly agree with because I think it's the only way we're ever going to get an official gun Megatron that could sit in, let's say, your Classics Generations display. Will have to be through Missing Link because it'll be a Japanese exclusive item. It probably won't be sold on Hasbro Pulse. So you'll have to get it through, obviously, an importing from either Japan or wherever. I'm not going to mention any specific stores because they're all going through some rough times right now. So importing is probably the least of their concerns right now. But it is what it is. Let me know what you think, guys. Again, I don't know. For me, it's like, I have a few that I'd like to see, but at the same time, I'm kind of curious what Japan wants to do because it's so easy for me to just go, oh, I want Missing Link Hot Rod. But it's like, hey, we have a lot of good Hot Rods already. T-Formers, Missing Link Unicron. That's the one I would want. If only, see, even me, I don't even want Missing Link Unicron as much as I want that old Unicron reissued. 1 for 1. I want what we would have gotten back then. Give me what we would have gotten back in 1986 if, nothing would have, changed and the movie was like a super success and they would have been inclined to put such a large product out there. Then I would have been like, okay, make that happen. I would totally be on board for that. And I feel like if they made it something that was much more widely available, because that original 86, we'll call it the Mango Cron, as I like to call it, that 86 Mango Unicron, it's one of those things that it's a large figure too. So people who didn't, like, let's say, get in on the HasLab, they could feel good at least getting that Unicron. And yeah, it's not a super impressive or super articulated thing, but it's got history. And it's one of those things that was such a fabled item that only so many people get to see. It gets crazy. We got a super chat, $5 from Pureblood 1000. How you doing, Pureblood? I've been collecting for years, and recently I got divorced. My ex attacked me every second. She had any suggestions how to explain my new girl? Oh, you're talking about being attacked for being a collector. Well, let me just take this down for a second. This is one thing, and we'll do a little help with when it comes to relationships with toy collecting. Okay, I was lucky because I was raised in an environment where my father is a toy collector. I grew up around die-cast cars, vinyl records, his childhood brought into adulthood. And I saw, how he navigated that territory while having a wife and a family and responsibilities and stuff. And I remember my mother said something many years ago to one of her friends, because one of her friends was like, oh my God, Jacques, my father's name is Jacques, very French. Jacques, he spends so much money on vinyl records and die-cast. Like, why do you let him do that? And my mother said it the best. And she said, I rather my husband have the vice of buying a vinyl record or a die-cast car or something than that of smoking or drinking. My father doesn't smoke. He rarely drinks. He's not into gambling, And it's something where, what I would always tell the new girl is, number one, I mean, there's so many layers I could tackle this from. I did a segment many years ago on my Proto Retro channel talking about why boys collect toys while girls don't understand it. And I did this like back in 2010. Obviously things have changed a lot since then, but it still kind of applies when you have a significant other that comes from that outside world. But it is something where, you know, I would always tell them, like, look, this is something that I enjoy. It's something that makes me happy. If you can't understand that or won't accept that, then, and I know it sounds cruel, you shouldn't have that person in your life. Because I've always said that no matter what happens in your life, your hobby will always be there for you. You could be in a great relationship and everything, and it's amazing, and it's like a honeymoon, and that girl turns to you and says, I want you to quit the hobby and get rid of all this stuff. And then you do it for her, and then 5 years later, it all goes to hell, and now you don't have your hobby to fall back on anymore, let alone any other day of the week. And I mean, I don't want to go into the semantics of it, but I think the secret also to a good relationship is to have your own thing, to have something that's your own, to not just make it always about, your significant other. You got to have that separation. You can't be on top of each other all the time. And having a hobby is the best way to do that. My dad had his record room where he listened to his Beatles and Rolling Stones and his die-cast collection, you know. So there's a lot to be said about it, but you want to be with someone who understands it. You really have to, because it's a hobby that grows. It doesn't shrink, it only grows. So they have to understand the environment. It in theory could be an expensive hobby. It really depends how you tackle it too. I mean, we always talk about Transformers finance here on the channel and how to be smart with your money with this hobby so you don't put yourself in financial peril. So it's something that before you hook up with anybody, especially when it comes to moving in with someone or getting married, they have to know what this world is. They have to know that you're one day you're going to go to Walmart and drop $50 on a piece of plastic that turns into a thingamajiggy. And they have to understand that. If they roll their eyes, even that first time, if they roll their eyes, it's only going to get worse later. How are you going to tell her about a HasLab? How are you going to tell her about a Titan class if she's rolling her eyes at like a Voyager class figure? It's only going to get tougher. I speak from personal experience. I had ex-girlfriends in the past that, for Canadians that know Zellers, but Canadian Target, we'll call it. I would go to Canadian Target, and I remember picking up, let me give it a good example. Not Nitro Comic, Override. This was during Cybertron, so like I want to say 2004, 2005. And my ex-girlfriend was like, oh my God, why are you buying that? And I'm like, oh boy, this is going to last long. And it didn't. I think I was dating her for like 4 or 5 months or something. Shout out to Vanessa. I hope she's doing well. But either way, it's something where, you have to stick to your guns, do what makes you happy, because we only have a limited amount of time on this planet, and you want to spend it doing what you enjoy. And if being surrounded by pieces of your childhood and the fiction that comes with it and all the cool stuff that comes with it too, and if you dive deeper into it with the community and the conventions and the fandom and the discussions and the creativity, it's something where, why would you sacrifice all of that? If someone truly cared about you, because if you're marrying someone, I'm going to assume, hot take, if you're marrying someone, I'm going to assume they care about you. If they care about you, they would try to understand what makes you tick. And that's it's a big part of my life. And I wish Jaws D was here, because Jaws D could vouch for me. During college, I had like the 1 week relationships. I'd meet a girl, I'd talk to her for a bit, and when the red flags were up that she really was, and we're talking college for me, it was like 2000, 2001, 2002. It was not hip to be into this stuff. It was not hip to be into this stuff. Are you kidding me? Like, we barely had an X-Men movie. There was no MCU. We had an X-Men movie and a Spider-Man movie. We barely had a Star Wars, new Star Wars movies. Like, we barely had geek culture. So collecting toys was weird. Collecting comic books was weird. Playing Magic the Gathering was weird. So you had to find that girl that accepted it, that understood it. And dare I say, sometimes it helps if they're into it too, or in some shape or form in a parallel like she is. She's not into Transformers per se. She could appreciate it, but she's into other robot stuff. She's into other toy stuff. So that parallel and that understanding of the collecting of the plastic crack, you know, is important, very important. Sky, Cavern Library Comics. I guess it's a store. Shout out. Well said. My wife knew exactly what she was getting into from the beginning. Well, that's very important and my mother gave me a big piece of advice a long time ago that she said, before you marry anybody, move in with them and live with them for like 6 months, just to know the hiccups of your lifestyle to the hiccups of their lifestyle. Before you put a ring on it, before you put any government documentation that could ruin the rest of your life through divorce, especially when you're someone like me who has a lot of ownership of valuables that should not be going into hands of some people that don't deserve it. It's something where live with that individual, get to know them first before you put a ring on it. There's no rush to have a wedding. If she's rushing for you to have a wedding, maybe that's a red flag. What's the rush there, honey? Why do we have to get a wedding so quickly? Are your friends getting married and you're just rushing into that? Another red flag for someone. You need someone that's ride or die with you, not ride or die with a bunch of other people that are not involved. Now we're getting into relationship advice in the middle of Transformer stuff, but it's my secret to my success that I've had in my life, and without the drama, I don't need drama in my life. I have enough stuff to worry about in my hobby and my interests and my career, everything like that, and traveling the world. I don't have time to have someone that's like, oh, why are you going to a convention without me? I don't need that person because I dated people that were like that before. Oh, you're going to Anime North? You're going here? Oh, why are you going without me? Well, why don't you come with? Oh, I don't have money. Well, I didn't have money either, and I'm barely able to go. So it's something where you got to have someone that understands the hustle. To quote, I think it was Kevin Nash, you got to have someone that's willing to be on the pirate ship with you, meaning to understand the craziness that you're doing and understand that. So like in the wrestling world, the women that wrestlers marry that understand their crazy lifestyles, they have to understand being on the pirate ship with you. So I always say everything is wrestling in life, and it's true because everything in life applies to wrestling. So it is what it is. T-Formers 2002, man, all this relationship talk, and I'm here happy being on my, well, you know what? Be happy with what you are. When the time comes when you meet somebody that makes you happy, there's no point rushing into a relationship if it doesn't fit for you. I've never understood people that think that they have to be with someone because everyone's with someone. You do it when it makes sense. I'd rather be alone than unhappy. I have so much stuff to make me happy in my life that if I didn't have a significant other, well, I'll keep myself busy elsewhere, if anything. Where are we here? Where are we at? I hope I don't miss anything. Horndow, everything Protoman is saying applies. Well, I don't want to miss I missed it. Everything's zooming up. Horndow says everything Protoman says applies as well. Being acceptable in any hobby or things of interest they may have. No one should have to change for their... No, 100%. No one should ever have to change. And I don't want to shout out someone, but it's someone here in the Montreal toy community. And he's a very good friend of mine, and people who are probably from Montreal know who I'm talking about. But he met a girl, and that girl came from outside our toy world. This guy, by the way, had a huge collection like I did. Not Transformers, but he had a huge toy collection. He met a girl. That girl wanted him to get rid of everything, and he let this head think more than this head. And he got rid of most of his stuff. They dated for 9 months, and then they broke up. And then he regretted getting rid of all these rare things in his collection and selling all this stuff, all because he thought with this head, not that head, So you got to use your head. Be smart about it. Again, your hobby will always be there for you. It'll always be there for you through tough times, no matter what your hobby is. It could be Warhammer. It could be Magic the Gathering. It could be painting model kits. It could be sniffing glue. Rotoman does not... condone sniffing glue, but whatever it is that makes you happy, just don't do that. I hate that stuff when people do that to themselves. Twins Corner, marry a fantasy book, Warren. It'll work out great. I'm sure Delta here. Yeah, it's true. You told me the story. Twins. Twins is an example of you got to be careful. You know, the twins know what's up. You could ask them to tell you the story in person. Which head exactly? um, What's for breakfast, Proto? Oh my goodness, we did a lot of food shopping today. We still have news we have to cover. I apologize. Like we got other news we still have to cover. We got into some good discussions there, but we'll save that for later. We'll finish the news. We'll talk about some of the cool stuff, and then we'll get back into the discussions. But Timmy, what did I have for breakfast? I had eggs, I had nuts, and I had organic blueberries. Now I had a quick breakfast because I had to do some shopping today. You know, I had to do some shopping. Stop simping. Yeah, don't simp. Don't simp. I always say this. There is billions, billions, and billions of women on this planet. Billions. And most of them, we're lucky because of the language that we speak, most of them have some kind of functional English to decent English for communication purposes. Billions of women out there. You only need one. You don't need 5. You don't need 12. You don't need 70. I don't have that many hands and toes. But you only need one that's half decent, that is willing to ride or die with you. Don't forget that. So if you're in a relationship and it's not working out, don't ever say in your head, oh my God, if it's not her, I'll have nobody. Don't ever think like that. Don't. You're selling yourself short. Billions of women out there. What's my Easter plans? Nothing really. Go watch WrestleMania tomorrow with Larry, who's in the chat. That's about it. That's the short term of it. Back to my regularly scheduled Transformer news. So I think we talked about Missing Link. Let's talk about on Amazon now. We got a bunch of Amazon stuff. This one here is pretty hype. It's funny. We were just talking about vinyl records with my pop. Oh man, I should have pulled out the original. Ah, damn. Oh well, next time. So this is on Amazon right now. I'm actually shocked it's not sold out yet. This is a reprint of the 1986 vinyl record of the 86 movie. The outer slip is exactly like the original. The inner record itself is what they call here a marbled Unicron color, which looks so much like the golden discs from Beast Wars. And it's a straight up reprint of the original Scotti Brothers vinyl record. It's ridiculously cheap because sometimes a lot of these specialty vinyl records, they're like $50, $60. This thing's $34.99, and it's going to be limited to only 4,000 in the world. It's on Amazon.com right now. I'm surprised it's not sold out yet. I bought 2 of them just to keep one sealed and one to play on the vinyl record. I'm going to go to my pops to play it on his high fidelity setup. But man, that is really cool. And they're obviously doing this because next year will be the 40th anniversary for the 86 movie. So pretty hype stuff. Very excited about that. Again, this is one, guys, if you're on the fence, just a warning in advance, I don't know how many copies are left. There's only 4,000 left. Pre-orders are up right now. Who knows? It might be sold out now. I don't know. So if you are kind of interested and it's something that's, look, let me tell you something. It's one of these things, if you are interested, but you're on the fence, buy it. If you change your mind, put it out there. Someone will gladly buy it off of you for MSRP and you'll make your money back. But it's one of those things, at least you won't have regrets, because this is really cool looking. I remember the last time they did a proper reissue of the 86 movie soundtrack was at BotCon 2016. Vince DiCola had a whole bunch of fresh prints, and they all sold out instantly. I never got to it, and I felt so bad. I guess I was too busy getting Judd Nelson's autograph. But the point is that, so this is very cool. Very, very cool. Go out of your way to pick it up if you can. And just looks awesome. Just looks awesome. And, of course, we have some other stuff from Amazon. So we have the very last of some of the Transformers Earthspark items. We have the Smash to Change Terrans. We got Smash to Change Jawbreaker and Smash to Change Twitch. Again, these are similar to, let me grab this old boy right here. You got the ones here from the Rise of the Beast movie, although this one I got from the Buzzworthy Bumblebee box version. But similar to the Smash and Change or Smash to Change. So, or what's it called? The Smash Changers. They had a whole bunch of different verbiage for it. These ones are a little smaller than the one I just showed you with the Optimus, but still very cool. Again, it's the end of the line. it's the end of the line. It's the end of the gimmicky line. It's the end of Earthspark. We're going to be moving into a new series afterwards. So if this speaks to you, I mean, if you want the best versions of these characters, again, I heavily just suggest getting the Japanese versions of these characters. But if you're someone that's a completist, I'm the world's, biggest jawbreaker collector, then just to let you know, this is out there. And it's up for pre-order right now, $14.99 on Amazon. I don't have the ship out date, but it's shipping out soon. That's all I know. But they're holding on. They're holding on. Earthspark. Earthspark. And then, let's see, let me get to the next one here. We also have the Cyberworld one that was on Amazon. So Amazon posted a bunch of listings also for Cyberworld. And while we don't have release dates 100% yet, they have July and October for Wave 1 and 2, but nothing is set in stone just yet. We did get some interesting images, some interesting listing information talking about the different theming that's going on with Transformers Cyberworld. So you have the Cyberworld areas that each character comes from and how it's going to play into the line. So each character kind of has their own elemental location, like Optimus is city, or Megatron or Snarl are jungle, and then you have the desert for Grimlock or Galvatron, which oddly enough, it's I guess if you're a bipedal kind of dinosaur dragon thing, it's desert, but if you're a regular dinosaur, it's jungle. I don't know. And of course, Skybite with the water one, Bumblebee with, again, city, and then desert with Scorponok. So I don't know what the logic is. But, oh, no, wait, it's jungle for Grimlock. Excuse me, I got it mixed up. Either way, interesting concept that's going on here. The only unfortunate thing is these are going to be 5-minute episodes when this debuts in the summer of 2025. So the storytelling elements are going to be kind of wonky. But I am curious how they're going to go about it. The packaging, I'm going to bust out the old Alita one here. The packaging is going to be very similar to that of the mainline Earthspark stuff, a exposed packaging with a tied down figure. It'll have the little logo of whatever the element faction and location will be, but otherwise we're going to have packaging almost literally 100% like this for it. So that does kind of indicate that this is going to be more of a younger demo mainline thing. A lot of people were saying oh, hey, how come we're seeing a lot of Generations and Legacy and all that being removed from Walmart's? I think that they're making space right now for this stuff, which, I mean, some people might feel that's not a fair comparison and they shouldn't do that. But I think Hasbro's really just trying to figure out how to sell some product and tell a story. And I feel that this line, in a lot of ways, is almost the in-between of what would be the more older collector stuff like our Generations and what Rescue Bots was for the preschool. This is kind of the middle of that and trying to get fans into that, because it's hey, we got a Megatron and a Galvatron here. Isn't that kind of weird? But I think they're just trying to get fans. They're just trying to get fans, new fans into this in a very tough toy world. I literally had this discussion this morning with someone else about just how difficult the toy industry is. And this goes into my Toys R Us hunting today, because those industries are suffering and they're closing. And while, us as fans will still be around and they'll never get rid of the Transformer brand, it'll always transform, no pun intended. But it is something where stuff like this is really trying to give an idea of just what's going on and how they're trying to build a new audience, if they can, if they can. But we shall see. Again, Cyberworld stuff slated for summer of 2025. Again, the listings say Wave 1 will be July. So maybe around TFCon or San Diego Comic-Con, we might start seeing Cyberworld stuff. Probably Hasbro will do a panel and show off a bunch of cool things. Again, I appreciate what they're doing here. A Bull Megatron, the Snarl with a Junkion twist with some different elements, even the Skybite with wheels. I just dig that stuff. That's the unique stuff that's kind of cool. And heck, even the even the Scorponok that kind of has like a throwback to some old prototype colors. Like clearly whoever's working on this at Hasbro West Coast, because this is clearly Hasbro West Coast stuff, the Hasbro Studios office near LA, clearly they're having a fun time doing this. So we're probably going to see more of it when we get to San Diego and TFCon in July. So stay tuned for that. And that's it more or less for the news, although we got more to talk about. But first, let's do some sponsorship, and then we'll open it up to Super Chats first. Symbiote Studios, which, as of this recording, the only two things available to purchase is Slug and Hot Rod, and of course the T-shirts and everything. Everything will be getting updates in April and May, according to their website, so stay tuned for that on Symbiote Studios for your plush pins and T-shirts of the robots in disguise. But check that out. Again, if you want to get a Hot Rod, he'll be there. The Slag plush will be available later. I guess they have to restock their inventory. I guess it finally sold out, and they need more. It's the podcast plush. You got to pick it up, yo. And of course, all the other stuff that's in the pipes. I believe some of the reveals of Transformer-related plushes will be happening around that of TFCon and, more importantly, San Diego Comic-Con. So stay tuned for the Transformers Slag Podcast. We'll keep you updated on what's happening with the Transformer plushes with Symbiote Studios, especially stuff like that Starscream that so many people are asking about. Who would have thought a Starscream Catnip Bravo would sell so well? But it is what it is. It's cats. It's Starscream. It's everything a woman loves, I guess. Speaking of which, is Butters with me today? He's here. Let's see if we can get him on camera for a second. Hey, Butters. He's knocked out. Either way, I don't want to mess with the camera too much. But yeah. And of course, all their other stuff, all the video game licenses they got. Shovel Knight, Power Rangers. We got the Cassette Beast stuff that I really like. All the other ones, check those too. Some of those are not available yet. Some of those are up for pre-order. All information is on symbiotestudios.com. And of course, lastly, they got their My Little Pony stuff. They have their Jumbos coming in 2025. And if you're curious, on their Twitter account, they are taking a poll right now if they want to do plushes for the My Little Pony Equestria girls, if there is an interest for that. So if you're a pony person, I know I'm not, but if you are a pony person, go check out symbiotestudios.com and, of course, their Twitter account, Symbiote Studios on Twitter, and be part of their voting for more pony plush. Seems to be doing very good for them. It's all Hasbro branding. Yeah. And speaking of the devil, Aaron, you come right in when I'm going to go Toy Armada. Go check out the Toy Armada. I think, Aaron, you planned that, didn't you? You were waiting for me to finish Symbiote Studios. So we can talk about the Toy Armada with Aaron Archer. Go check out the Toy Armada with Aaron Archer. We have great live streams. We have great segments, me and him together, talking about the robots in the skies. We'll have a brand new segment coming up in the near future. We're kind of in between programs because now Skype is on its way out. Microsoft is doing their Teams with Skype, and we got to figure out new recording stuff and all that. And it is what it is. So check that out. Check out Aaron's Posca stuff. Aaron posted a butt ton of brand new Transformers Armada and Energon comic books with painted covers, one-of-a-kind painted cover pieces. I am shocked that the Sideways is still in stock, but some of the others, there's a whole bunch of them. Don't let this image be any indication. There's a bunch of them. Check it out, archermonster.com/shop. He put a whole bunch of them. They're very affordable. You get a nice little comic with a one-of-a-kind, made-for-you, painted Art Deco piece in Posca. Very, very cool. And, of course, the high-end stuff, if you're into that too, hang that in your office, hang that in your living room, hang that in your wall, hang it, if you're a dentist, put it in your waiting room. Let them know that you are part of the Robots of Disguise army. And, of course, Bin Studios. If you have a Unicron HasLab and you want to make a 2-in-1, check it out, Bin Studios at iwarp.com. Pick up an upgrade kit and make your Unicron a 2-in-1. And you won't have to buy 2 HasLab Unicrons to have both modes. You could have them both there together. And last but not least, my own sponsorship, because once again, a reminder, in June, specifically June 18 on the Wednesday, Transformers is one part of my life. but we also have Mega Man, and I am working on the latest Mega Man X book. We have the one shot with multiple covers of Mega Man X Timelines #1 that'll be coming in June, with more to come later. Stay tuned for that at San Diego Comic-Con. But go to your local comic book store right now and ask to pre-order Mega Man X Timelines #1, written by that idiot Proto Man. And check that out, working with some really talented people with that. My longtime buddy Josh Perez doing the coloring, Edwin, who's doing the art on it, and he did a fantastic job capturing that Mega Man X style from the anime and OVA series of Day of Sigma. Great little story. I don't want to spoil too much, but this is going to be an ongoing project over multiple years and a lot of other big stuff behind the scenes. Stay tuned for that. It's a dream come true for Proto and you. Mega Man X Timelines, Issue 1, coming June 2025. And that's it, more or less. Let's talk what we got. So, last week, we went to Toys R Us. For people that are not up to speed, Teams is crap, eh? Damn, that sucks to hear. I was going to use Teams. So here's what's popping with that. So for people who haven't heard, Toys R Us had a really rough Q4 in 2024. The holiday season here in Canada for Toys R Us was not good. And Toys R Us announced that they will be shutting down 75 to 80% of their locations. And as a result of that, a lot of Toys R Us's have been liquidating like crazy. And every week since they announced their liquidations, they've been going 10% off everything in the store, 20%, 30%, 40%. This week was 50%. And I knew it was going to be an absolute nightmare. And I showed up late and I went, you know what? I'm going to go to another Toys R Us off the island of Montreal to try to find something. I had no luck. All the Magic the Gathering stuff was gone. 99% of the Transformers stuff was gone. But she had a decent haul. So here's more or less what we picked up. I did get some Transformer stuff. I'll show you guys in a moment. But a lot of this is her stuff. She picked up those oversized Playmobiles, some plushes of Godzilla and Rodan. Well, it's a Mecha Godzilla and Rodan. I got that Nintendo Power candy thing. I just wanted the display box, I'll be honest with you, but I had to buy the whole thing. More Playmobil stuff that she bought, some Sonic the Hedgehog stuff, because it was literally $2 each. Honestly, everything in this image here, no joke, I think it came to like $60. Everything was 50% off. Some stuff was on red tag clearance on top of the 50% off. So we just kind of picked up this and that. There really wasn't much. All the Black Series, all the Marvel Legends, anything that was of value was bought long before we got there. All the Lego stuff, most of it gone. So it was pretty rough. But I did find this and that, some things here and there. And it's mostly damaged stock. So let's put it that way. I was really looking forward to, in all honesty, picking up some of the Marvel and Magic the Gathering cards at 50%, but people swooped in and bought all that stuff. So first what I found, bent card back. Clearly was stepped on like 100 times in the store because everything was just everywhere on the floors. Might as well own the Rescue Bots version of the Slag Podcast, in this case, Slug. So picked this up, $1.50 Canadian. Yeah, that's not bad. It's like, what, 75 cents American for, bent card back. I'm going to try to just hang it on the wall, and it's so bad. So I got that. This I was happy. So last time I went there, I picked up these guys from a different Toys R Us. I got these, what did I get them for? $14, $12 Canadian. After the 40% off, which was last week. So I got this one and I got the Sandstorm. So I went to a different Toys R Us because I figured, if I go to the same one, you're not going to see new inventory. So I went to a different Toys R Us. Boom, I got the Night Prowler. So now it was 50% off. So very nice. Again, I think this was like $11, $12 when it was all said and done. So that's very cool. The She-Ra pop pin is her. She wanted to get that. It's not a pop vinyl. That's the giant pins that they have, like those huge pins. Here's the funny thing. Everything in the store is 50% off. All the Funko stuff is 60% off. So they really want to get rid of the Funko stuff. What does that say? What does that say? Also, the candy stuff was 60% off. So that's why I also bought the Nintendo Power stuff. But managed to get him for very, very cheap. I'm happy with that one. Night Prowler has a cool history. in Transformers as an unreleased character. And this one was really cool. So this was an extremely beat up, taped together, Aaron Archer designed Energon Megatron. So when I brought it to the cash, I was like, okay, MSRP for these are normally $14.99. If I get 50%, I'll be happy. So when they went to go scan it, they clearly like messed up the barcode there because it was damaged product. So when they went to go scan it, they're like, oh, we can't scan this. And then they looked at it and they said, you know, we're just going to throw this in for free. Yeah. So I got myself a free Megatron. So that's pretty cool. Is it complete? I don't know. I haven't opened it yet. The box is absolutely destroyed. But hey, free Megatron. Very, very cool. And then when I looked at my bill afterwards, I think so on the left side there's that Star Wars guy that looks like Bucky O'Hare. I have no idea who it is. I just bought it because it looks like Bucky O'Hare. That Star Wars one, they threw that in for free too. So I don't know, man. Whoever they're hiring at Toys R Us, I guess they just don't care for the clearance, but it is what it is. It is what it is. It's an absolute mess. Dramatic, what's up, man? Proto, the Brisbane Toys R Us has a lot of new Transformer stock, but they're all closing. But they aren't closing. Oh yeah, well that's the difference. You want to get the ones that are closing. That's the thing, because the ones that are closing are the ones that have the big clearances. But unfortunately, again, everything got bought up already. I mean, look, this is what between me and my girl, this is what we came back with. A bunch of Sonic stuff, a bunch of hockey and Naruto Playmobiles. Again, it's not much. Like that's literally the best I could pull out of all of that. You know, I didn't come back with a single like, you know, Super Mario figure, you know, like, because it was all picked through. So Jackson is his name. Is it pronounced the way I'm saying it too? Jackson? I don't know, he just looks like Bucky O'Hare, so I'm down for that. You know. But yeah, again, not much, unfortunately. This is the big score in my opinion. You know, just to kind of get it for free. It's just like practically falling out of the box. But it is what it is. Can't argue with free. Very, very cool. So the reason why, you know, Toys R Us is going like even bad in Canada is just the market is tough. The market is really, really tough. And it's just, again, I think that when parents want to buy kids toys, they just buy online and have it shipped to the house discreetly if they want to do birthday presents. And I think that just the brick and mortar located big store thing is a lot harder to do. And I mean, I'm the kind of person, when I walk into a restaurant or when I walk into like a car dealership, especially, sometimes I look around like, so I just recently did winter tires for a whole bunch of people. And after we do winter tires, we bring the car to a car wash and we clean off all the salt and everything from the winter season. And sometimes I'll look at certain car washes and go, man, they got 6 guys here. They're all probably getting paid minimum wage and they could only do 4 cars at a time in an hour. They're barely breaking even. And then you factor in their water costs and electricity and everything else and soap. Sometimes I wonder how people run businesses, you know, when they don't have a good money managing system. And I think Toys R Us was just one of those cases. You know, you go to a Toys R Us on a Tuesday and there's like 7 people on the floor and nobody is in the store buying anything. All that labor, the electricity, just showing up for the day, the manager, it's all a wash, you know, so it was really tough for them. Really, really tough. Joseph with the $5 super chat. I think tariffs will hurt companies that have to sell wholesale because they have slim margins. Funko, Super 7, Hasbro due to its size will be fine. Well, Hasbro will be fine because they have. Well, I don't have them nearby, but they have the art of the cardboard. They're lucky because a lot of Magic the Gathering product is made in Japan or Cardamundi that's in Europe. And so those have good tariff stuff, so they're safe with, like, the golden goose that makes Hasbro the most money also is the one that's the least subjected to tariffs. So it's something that Hasbro will be fine. Hasbro will be fine. Not to mention other stuff is made in Vietnam. Yeah, some stuff still is made in China, but it does get in the way of things. So they'll be fine. I agree with you. Pure Blood 100% with the $5 super chat. Thanks, guys. Bruticus Series 86 or no. Also, Grimlock reissue coming soon. Didn't they do one just recently? Are you referring to the Studio Series 86 one? They did a reissue recently. I mean, look, if there's still demand and money, they'll reissue that Grimlock until the end of time. You know that. You know they'll do that until the end of time. You know, then the GI Joe Classified ordered 4-inch Rattler. It looks awesome. Hey man, Rattlers are always cool. I have the original one sitting upstairs somewhere. Um, but yeah, thank you for the super chats. You know, but a Bruticus, I mean, I think it looks cool. But Bruticus is one of those more interesting combiners to me. You know, I always felt like, again, I'm a big car dude, but stuff like Menasor and aerial bots were always, you know, Superion were always been kind of the weaker ones for me, in my opinion. Link CW, I need to get out of this hotel living and get into a home so I can have a life again. Never have free money even to buy stuff. Well, again, Link CW, it's something where if you're having financial issues, usually you should probably avoid purchasing stuff and kind of focus on getting, like, I had a friend, I don't want to name him, but he's kind of a little bit of an inspiration in a lot of ways in that, you know, he was someone who he lived with his family, specifically he lived with his single mom. His mom was a little volatile, kicked him out, and he was like technically homeless for like a good solid like week, you know? And what he did is he literally just got a telemarketing job and then he literally slept inside McDonald's and Burger Kings that had like 24-hour shifts to just kind of survive. And when he got his first paycheck, which I believe he told me was like 400 something dollars, keep in mind this was years ago, but he got his first 2 week paycheck. He then put an advance on an apartment. He slept literally on the floor of his apartment and he built his way back. And it's something where he was literally surviving off of a coffee, buy a coffee and then sit and loiter in the Burger King or the Walmart. If he had to shower, he would go to a YMCA that had at least free entry, and he would go and shower and stuff and change his clothing because you don't want to smell terrible going to a job interview and look homely. But it's something where you got to figure out a way to squeeze your pennies to survive, and then you could be a little more crazy. This is something that should be a secondary thought. Getting yourself together and getting your life on track and having your money in its right place and money managing is the best way to go about it. You know, I have people that are patrons and they'll contact me and they'll tell me like, "Hey man, like I just want to apologize and warn in advance. I'm not going to be able to do the Patreon this month. You know, like it's you know, I have money issues and it's going to be a problem." And to me, like my Patreon's like $1, $2, $3, $5 for some people. Look, if $5 is going to kill you, it won't hurt me. Go fix your life. I want people to be happy. I want people to, you know, be able to take care of themselves and just, you know, you have to, because I was there. I was there. My father was unemployed for many years. And my mom, who was a secretary, was like carrying us for the longest time. We were barely getting by. And there was Christmases with zero presents. You know, I wish my sister was here. She could talk about those stories. 92, 93, 94, zero. No presents under the Christmas tree, you know? But we understood it. We understood it and we got by. Those were trips to Value Village and getting whatever we could for like, you know, nothing. You know, get a little loose action figure or something and just barely getting by. We were lucky that, you know, at the time, video stores were a very popular thing, so you could rent a video game, and that would be your big weekend. I did a lot of sports as a kid, and when you play sports, that's kind of the free enjoyment in life. Hey, everyone's playing soccer. All you need is a pair of feet. You know, everyone's playing hockey. All you need is a stick, you know? So it's like, I understand that, and it's something where you have to kind of get into a good rhythm of things. I think that me being in a rough situation as a child, knowing how we didn't have a lot of money, helped me understand money even better and appreciate it, and know that, you know, you could work your way back. And my friend, who I don't want to name, although, you know, maybe if he wants to be named, I'll gladly say it. But you know, him too. He just hoarded money, was careful what he was spending it on, and just built his way back up. You know, get a home, get, you know, like you don't need streaming services. You don't need, like, get a pay as you go cell phone. That way you could just have a phone so you could still get phone calls if you know, if you're getting accepted to a new job. but you don't need to have the internet on that cell phone. Use libraries. Libraries have free internet, free rentals of stuff. You can rent movies, rent video games, rent books. It's free entertainment. But libraries also have access and programs and stuff that you could survive because it'll have the internet. So if you need to use an internet and access, your Hotmail or whatever, go to the library. No one's kicking anyone out of a library. You know what I mean? So there's opportunities and there's different kinds of programs and stuff for people that are having a rough time. Again, I've seen it. I was raised in a very rough area where I lived. Anyone who knows Côte de Neige, it's not great. It's probably the worst mall you could ever be in. You know, the Côte de Neige mall that was near my house. Like it was a rough area, but it is what it is. Joseph says, listen to Proto. I retired off his ram horn recommendations. I sure as hell hope not. Because Titans Return Ram Horn at one point spiked in value, but not so much anymore. Link CW, if I could sell my collection, I would. I could fix my shipment. Well, again, selling a collection is a matter of having an eBay account, having that attached to a bank account, having the ability to take photos with your phone, transferring it to somewhere. Look, get a phone, a smartphone, be able to then use free Wi-Fi to then transfer the photos that you take with that smartphone through email to yourself, email it to yourself, take those photos, sell it on eBay, and then ship it out. And you need boxes because you don't have money to buy boxes. Go behind a Burger King, go behind a Walmart, go behind anything. They are getting rid of boxes all the time. You get them for free. And then you just take those boxes, you package that stuff up, go to the dollar store, invest in this, invest in this, package up your packages, write the person's name on it, get your life back together. And then everything will be sweet, my friend. Joseph with the $5 super chat. I was poor as a child. I lived at a pig farm that my family didn't own. Now I own a plush company. Suffering equals success. Well, I think that always when you have less, you appreciate more. But I think that's kind of a given. That's the old case of the spoiled kid who doesn't appreciate what they have. And I mean, my goodness, like I know a lot of spoiled kids that man, there are stories that people in the Toronto and Montreal community know about certain really rich kids who had huge toy collections that just dumped it on us because they didn't appreciate it. Listing is free. Selling is the only time they charge you, but only if you make the sale. Exactly. Ashnut is correct. If you have this figure and you sell it and you get $20 for it, they're going to take what, 13%, but the rest is all you, my man. Then you ship that package. You charge for the shipping. You don't lose money on the shipping. You charge them for the shipping. Make your money, build back. The one good thing about being in this hobby is it acts as a backup investment for yourself. A lot of people that are poor or end up in poor situations are not like us. They don't have this that we could fall back on. God forbid somehow my whole life goes to zero and I don't have any money, no investments, no nothing, no house, no nothing. I could turn around and sell every Robot Master here and get back. I mean, look, just that reverse convoy. What is that? $100? Just that Optimus is another $20. Just all these Robot Masters could probably pay the rent for an apartment for a month. Then let's do all the Titaniums. Let's do all the Universe 2.0. How much does a Bloody Tusks go for? Let alone G1, everything else. I mean, and that I'm one example, but we're all like that here in the chat today. So it's very important. It's very, very important. Eyes on the Ace, so hard to teach kids that today. Eyes on Ace, it was TFCon. It was the one, I think, what was the one I went to that Richard was at? Where's Aaron in the chat? He has better memory than I. All these places blend together. Was that TFCon? What was the one? Cringe, T-Formers, are you in the chat? What was the one that you guys had a table, the very first time you had a table? Was that LA? No. LA was the one before. Oh my god, I don't remember. They're all merging together with me here. I think it was LA. No, it wasn't LA. Why would it be LA? What was the one that had Richard as one of the guests? Either way, I remember that Baltimore. Thank you, cringe. Baltimore. God. Yeah, and everyone's going to forget Baltimore. TFCon Baltimore. I remember a mom came by with her son, and the kid, I swear to God, was probably no more older than maybe 8 years old. And he was a huge fan of the podcast because he wants to get into the toy industry and he just wanted to learn. He just wanted to learn the more inside baseball of the hobby that isn't just like, oh, the toys, the characters, and, you know, and I remember talking to the kid, but more so, I remember like directing it at the mother because the parents are the one that steers the lives of a child. And I remember telling her, like, make sure that whatever he does, that he goes into an industry that has a future, so that he has a trade, so that he's able to make money in the future, so he doesn't have to worry. Teach him money, teach him savings, teach him, investing. You put right now, if you're a 14-year-old kid listening, if you rub literally $50 together and get any investment of a major company that you could find. What is a freaking Hasbro stock right now? And granted, maybe Hasbro stock might not be the best one to invest in, but you know, and this is just it's just gonna happen. Let's do Amazon stock, right? So right now, Amazon stock. There we go. Come on, work with me here. 172 Canadian, so about let's say 150 American, right? You get 150 bucks and you buy Amazon stock. I bet my left testicle 20 years from now, it's going to go up. I don't care. We could have a million recessions. It'll go up because history, it always goes up. Look, the beautiful thing with the stock market is you could always look. So if you're a parent that doesn't want to go crazy and risk the farm, just take $150 and just put it into that one stock and then forget it for your child. And then 20 years later, that kid at least will have $2,000 extra because I'm telling you that stock 20 years earlier will become 2,000. I don't care what it is. It could be Walmart, it could be Nintendo. It'll go up. And it's a nice little thing that's sitting in behind the scenes. Or he could spend $150 or $700 on a video game console that he's going to get bored of later. But you want to give a kid a little bit of a head start when he hits his 20s and he wants to have some extra money to put towards something, maybe even a down payment or moving or whatever or traveling. Do that to them. Do it for them now so they don't have to worry about it later. You have to have that kind of financial literacy to bestow upon your children. And it's something that, unfortunately, I didn't have that when I was a child, but I had that as an adult and then now could apply that to my stuff. It's better late than never. So I learned that in my 20s. So I was able to apply that in my 20s. Now I'm in my 40s and I'm able to enjoy that in my 40s. So, but there's a lot of opportunities, Link CW. Like, again, we could continue this conversation afterwards, but, I wish you the best of luck and just always find those opportunities. The world is not a tough place if you create those opportunities for yourself. It's so much easier to quit. It is so much easier to quit than it is to actually make an effort. And too many people want to be woe is me. So I'm sure you could pull something off, my friend. Patrick Brown, I put $100 into each of my 3 kids' savings accounts per paycheck, grows at 4% interest. Not too bad. Well, those are fine too, Patrick, but the only problem that I find with bank savings accounts, and this is just my take, is that you're relying on the value of your currency. So when you're putting money into a savings account and let it accrue every 4%, the only negative that I have with that is the accruing of that 4% that you get at the bank, they're pretty much just factoring in inflation. That's what they're factoring in. And the value of that dollar, in this case, the American dollar, which we'll have as our conversation today. So if you put in that and that 4% grows, it's going to grow to catch up to inflation, unfortunately. So that's where it's kind of like, look, it's still going up, but it's something where, like to give simple math, you put $10 in a bank account and it grows 4% with inflation. By the time it grows to, like, let's say $100, that value of $10 would have grown to about $100. So you're breaking even. So I always suggest, again, find a company that you're comfortable with that you feel, because I find with stocks, you have to go with something that you're comfortable with, that you know that company. So me, I go with automotive companies, I go with tech companies that I'm comfortable with, and you just kind of, you don't have to put all your life savings. Put a little bit and take a step back. Diversify. Put $50. Look, you're going to spend $50 on a leader class transformer that you're going to open up the box and then sell for $30 later loose. Put $50 into Nintendo and take a step back and forget about it. Just forget about it and then come back to it in 15 years. Trust me, it's not going to be $50. It's not going to be $60. It's not going to be $100. Trust me, it's going to be a lot more. Precious metals, there's only two that matter, and that's platinum and gold. Unfortunately, silver take a huge dive. The only problem with precious metals is that's banking on if out of nowhere. Well, I don't want to get into conspiracy theory stuff, but where do I even begin with this without looking like a lunatic? As someone who's in the automotive industry, I've always felt that people want global warming to happen so that the polar ice caps could melt, because there is a lot of gold, precious metals, and oil under all that ice. And once that does happen and they have access to all of that, the limited finiteness of those precious metals will hurt its value. Gold is valuable until they all of a sudden find a bunch of it. So, but there's like this weird domino effect of stuff. And again, I don't want to go into the conspiracy theorist stuff, but it's like, you understand what I mean? Like, it's something where it could go up and down, unfortunately, with availability. Same thing with oils and stuff like that. They always act like it's a finite resource, that there's none of it. There's tons of it that we still have not discovered, that's under thousands of inch of ice that they're only waiting to get access to. And then they'll dig it all up and make tons of billions of dollars that we can only dream of. So, but again, that's a whole other conversation. I wonder how much of the audience we lost talking about finances instead of robots in disguise. But it's important. It's important. I hate it when people complain about how, oh, I don't have money. I have a shitty job. All these problems. And then they turn around and then they complain about having these kind of conversations. You have to educate yourself on it. Where's my tinfoil hat? None of it. I don't have a tinfoil hat. I barely have any hair. How could I have a tinfoil hat? Link CW, things only have value as long as they're wanted. Well, again, I feel that in the tech world, gold and platinum will be valuable because they are two key assets to that of circuit boards and stuff like that. Look, if electric cars become a big part of the future, platinum and gold will be a big part of that too. But again, platinum and gold also is measured against how much is available, and that's what kind of creates its value. All of a sudden, if they find a giant gold mine in the middle of Africa or something, all of a sudden gold goes down because now all of a sudden there's so much of it. That's always how it works. If you do want to invest in gold, I do have a recommendation that a friend told me. If you have a Costco membership card, Costco gives really good rates for bars and strips of gold. So that's a good way to do it. If you already have a Costco membership, I don't suggest getting one to get gold, because then you're putting a monthly or yearly membership in order to make money, which is kind of counterproductive. But if you already have one, that is something to look into. Go to Costco's website for it. That's one way. Again, it's something that I always wish financial freedom for everybody in my life. The one thing that I find that is very important is that the moment you have financial freedom, the moment you have that ability to not have to worry about money anymore, and it's just you're almost on autopilot, like you're not 2 paychecks away from being on the street. You have legitimate financial freedom. You don't have debt. You have money in the bank. You could go and be irresponsible if you want without having to take out a loan. Then you truly are living. Then you truly aren't sweating. Then you truly aren't worrying anymore. And then you have what I like to call FU money. And when you have FU money, then you could truly start doing what you want to do with your life. Then you could take that dream trip that you never thought of doing. Then you could quit your job and do something that more makes you happy. Always try to pursue that as much as you can. But that doesn't happen easily. You got to be someone that's willing to put in the work. You got to be someone that's willing to educate yourself, because if you don't want to have those two things, and it sounds so cliche, but if you don't want to put in the work and you don't want to educate yourself, then you have no right to complain that you're living a shit sandwich. I'm sorry. I hate it when people complain about how they hate where they are, or they don't like that they're, and they make excuse after excuse. And then when they have the opportunity, and I've given some of these people opportunities, the opportunities to get themselves out of that situation, and they just act lazy or they make excuses or whatever. Some people, they just are where they are in their lives by design. It's just how it is. So you got to put in the work. You got it. I didn't look at this podcast, right? I do a podcast segment every single day in a 2-hour live stream on top of having a 9 to 5 job. Think about that for a second. On top of having that job, on top of doing everything else, on top of having a wife and a social life and doing all this other stuff, you got to put the time in. Success is not going to come easy. You put the work in, you will find success. If I did this podcast once a week, I don't think I would have had the success. Doing it every day, putting the time in, educating myself on this hobby, being in this hobby as long as I have. I've been in the online fandom since 1996. So I've been always educating myself about the hobby, learning about how the industry works behind the scenes, making the right friends, going to conventions, making the right, networking. You got to put the work in if you want to be where you want to be in life. And everyone has different goals, but the point is, look where that goal is and figure out how you want to get there. Especially that. Let me see. I don't want to miss any questions here. Why you think Orange Man wants green? Don't talk about silly take over Canada, North America. That stuff's not going to happen. It's just another 24-hour news cycle. Got to keep people talking on Twitter because we have to have the next drama so that those monies make tons of websites. Those websites make tons of money. I just had a little backwards moment there. Such silliness hearing that. Every time people ask me that question, it's not going to happen. Timmy K, where's the next Patreon finance question? Well, if someone asks one, thing is people don't ask them. If they ask a question, I'm glad to answer it, Snell's World, you retire in July. Well, congratulations to you. Fantastic. I always love hearing that. I just hope that you have enough money to enjoy the rest of your days. That's the only thing that I say is just make sure you got that money aside. Make sure you money manage your lifestyle now that you're living off of retirement. Look, you could eat healthy and not have to spend, bust the bank, and you can live a good life. You don't need to have 50 streaming services. There's so many ways to have free entertainment online. There's tons of streaming services that are free, YouTube being one of them, as long as you have an internet connection. There's a lot of cheap internet connection companies. You don't need to have the best internet connection company. You could get some of the more basic ones. There's so many ways. 401k is a wise investment because that's how you're going to retire, my friend. It's not something you should completely bank on, but it's one of the many things. Like I said before, you got to diversify. The old saying, putting all your eggs in one basket, never the smart thing to do. Never the smart thing to do. I agree with Eyes on Ace, R. Matey. That's another thing. Link CW, I have been close, but still being married, raising 3 kids, not easy. Well, again, it's something that even with those difficulties that you have, Link CW, having children and those mouths to feed and all of that stuff, it's something that you have to, as a unit together, figure out. You have to figure it out. Obviously, the kids are young. If they're young, there's something that they're more of a liability and you got to take care of them. But as they get older, you have to be able to have those conversations with them and let them know. When I was young, I was informed of how rough our situation was and why we didn't get presents, why I didn't have a Game Boy as a kid, why I didn't have a Super Nintendo when it came out, why I didn't have the Power Ranger toys until 20 years later in my life, because they were just impossible to get and only getting bootlegs from Chinatown once in a while. No joke. I still have those bootlegs to this day because it keeps you humble. But You know, it is what it is. Twins Corner, will Symbiote Studios be at TFCon Toronto? With all the tariff stuff, would you really recommend an American company trying to come into Canada right now to make business and sell money? I'm going to say no for Symbiote Studios, right? Even though they're in the chat, I'll say no for them from a business standpoint. Not the best time to do that. Link CW just got to get back on top, you know. Of course, 100%. 100%. Prince of Phalanx 59, the next stock investment. What's for dinner, Proto? Honestly, I went to the Asian supermarket with my wife and her mother, my mother-in-law, and we're thinking of making. She wants to make a Korean soup called sunda bujjigae. I am totally butchering it, which is like a spicy Korean soup with tofu, a little bit of meat, these long mushrooms. I don't know. She's making it, not me. I don't know. Looks good, smells good. So that's going to be it. And aside from that, like a whole bunch of other like meat stuff. We have a whole bunch of chicken breast and everything. We could always throw together something. It's you know what? If there's another thing too, you could learn to appreciate is looking at first generation immigrant Asian people and how they survived. And within one generation, turned it around. They come to a country, they don't speak any English, they work hard, they work in a factory, whether it be sewing or a restaurant or whatever. They work hard, they instill in their children, work hard at, go into a medical field, go into a law field. And within one generation, boom, from barely speaking English, working in factories to doctors and lawyers and engineers and everything. If you instill a good foundation and they're very good with their money, you can label it cheap, but I look at my mother-in-law, rice, meat, vegetables, boom, 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 little bit of soy sauce. There you go. Amazing. Some of us go to a restaurant and pay $14.99 for that. She made it with $3, and it feeds the whole family. So it's something where I got to see that firsthand, not living that life growing up, but seeing that vicariously through my wife and her family. And you see how they survive. And my wife now, dental hygienist, went into a medical field, makes good money. So it's something where, and while on, my mother-in-law could barely rub two English sentences together. And I love her. But she could barely speak any English. But she sewed and she worked hard, and and her husband too. They literally just barely survived, but they turned it around in one generation. You know, so you got to put that work in. You got to put that effort. You got to put that foundation, and everything will be great. Youngest is turning 18. Well, then that means that's also an individual that you don't have to put that kind of pressure on them. But if it's something that could help the family grow and move forward, if you guys are all living in a hotel, that's a loss every single month, especially if you're doing an extended stay, where if you could get some money together and be able to be in a much more comfortable living situation that's not as expensive as a hotel, and have your own fridge, have your own stove, buy food more wisely, eat more smart, and not as expensive. I mean, unfortunately, the problem with the United States is sometimes there's this incentive to go eat at fast food because it's cheaper than going to the grocery store, but not sometimes if you look smart around. Again, it's unfortunately it is opportunity. Some people don't have easy access to good grocery stores and stuff, and it's not fair for me to say that when I'm not living in every single city in the United States to make that conclusion. But there is something where, like anything in life, it's all about building a plan. You look at your situation, you look around you, and you figure it out. The old saying, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. You look around, you look at your situation, you look at what stores are available to you, what Walmarts, what Sobeys or whatever, fast food chains or grocery chains are around you, and you wait for sales, you stock up during sales. Oh my God, orange juice is $1 this week instead of it being $3. Stock up on them, hoard those, and that way you have more of that. Like there's all of that kind of stuff. Roman Chin, hoping to meet him at TFCon Chicago. Well, again, so far Chicago is 90%. unless Aaron's changing something, unless Aaron's not going or something. Again, it's more just I like going to TFCon where I have an opportunity to have a base of operations at the show. That way, I'm able to communicate with people better. Going to shows where you don't really have a foundation place to sit in one spot, you're just kind of like walking in circles for 3 days. And I like to be able to be in one spot and just kind of be able to communicate with the fans and have conversations and stuff. Um, but yeah, it's one of those things. Like it's just I just want people to find their place. Like Jim Carrey had this great quote where I think it was on Comedians with Cars Getting Coffee. I think that's where the quote came from. But Jim Carrey had this great quote where he's like, I wish every person could find wealth so they could realize that it's only a tool to true happiness. And that's why, if you could just find financial freedom, you don't need to be rich. You just need to have a little bit of financial freedom. And then you could truly learn what true happiness is, because then you discover what that is, because you all of a sudden get pushed into that. You start realizing what is important to you. You know, for some people, maybe the toy hobby isn't the most important thing to them, and that's fine. Everyone's allowed to have things that they enjoy, but it's something that I hope that everyone gets that. Tom Laney with Age of the Primes, how they reused these new molds, new colors, new characters. Well, G2 aerial bots, I'm pretty sure they'll figure something out with those prime molds. We already have like Wasp from the Bumblebee. I'm pretty sure they'll do a cliff jumper at some point too. So there's all your repaints just for wave one, more or less. Um, Roman Chile will be your first ever TFCon. Well, that's fantastic. That is fantastic. I have to warn you. I have to warn you. When you do conventions, you will become addicted to them because there's no greater feeling. Look, you could go to other conventions. You could go to big shows. San Diego Comic Con is like the biggest show you could ever go to. But there's no greater feeling than going to a convention where every single person in that room, all thousands of them, all like the same thing you do. You go to San Diego Comic Con, not everyone there's a Transformer fan. You go to, like a big show locally in your area, your local toy show convention. Not everyone's a Transformer fan. You go to TFCon, every person in that room is a Transformer fan. Every person in that room is going to get your references. And it's addictive because you get to meet you get to meet local fans, you get to meet fans that you know online, you get to meet creators, you get to meet voice actors, you get to get exclusives, you get to hang out with people, and it's not just during the hours of the show, in the evenings of the show, at the bar and everything. It becomes addictive, and next thing you know, you want to do it all the time. That's what happened. I remember when I brought Jaws D to his very first TFCon in 2010. He was a Transformer fan his whole life. We grew up together as kids. He finally went to his first TFCon in Toronto in 2010, and he hasn't missed one since. Yeah, because it became addictive. T-Formers 2002. We got to get we got to hold down the podcast corner at Toronto again. Yeah, for sure, 100%. That's probably the only thing that people always ask me, like, how come I don't do podcast segments at TFCon? Only the Toronto ones. Only the Toronto ones. I just don't have time at the USA shows to do a live stream. It's a lot easier with Toronto because it's more or less the same people every year, so it's not like there's exploring or things we got to do. But yeah, for sure that corner's got to be held down again. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. Link CW, the biggest problem, it's saving money to pay a deposit first, last, exact. When we already pay so much week to week, expensive is $2,000 a month. Oh my God, $2,000 to $3,000 a month rent sounds better than what we pay now. Well, then where are you located? Oh, no, I don't want to expose you though, but like I'm very curious where you're located. There has to be cheaper options, and $2,000 to $3,000 a month sounds like you live in New York City. Like that's crazy. It can't. There has to be cheaper options than that. There's got to be somewhere that you could live with your family, and it might be a little uncomfortable at first, but you're not paying that kind of stuff. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. You should not be paying that. There's got to be other options. Yes, I often quoted, can't remember who said it. Money is a tool, not a goal. It's a tool. It is. it's something that people look. There's nothing wrong with trying to have an increased income in your life to make your life safer and easier. But never forget that it's not the driving force of everything. It's when you're someone like Sir CW over here, where he's having a tough time surviving, then it's something where, yeah, it is very important. But once you get out of that, see, look, if a studio is 1,600, brother, if you all have to sleep in the same living room on mattresses on the floor in order to get yourself out of the shit sandwich that you're in, I would do that because that's what people have to do. Paying $2,000 to $3,000 a month, that's an extra, assuming the 2,000, that's an extra $400 a month to an extra $1,400 a month you could be banking and putting towards getting out of your situation. I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm just saying, like, that's just the logistics of it from my perspective here. Unless there's pieces of the story I'm missing, does this hotel give you free breakfast? I don't know, or like free laundry or something like that, or free, is the, when we're factoring in electrical bill and hydro bill, is that something too that you also have to factor in? So it really depends on your situation. Daytona Beach, Florida. Ooh boy. Daytona Beach, Florida is actually cheaper than most places. So I think you need to, with your internet connection, look around at places that are renting. And then once you find a good place that you're renting that's affordable and you could build income, then you build a base of operations around that. You start looking around that location, looking at better places to work, better places to buy food, and then find ways to save there. Side hustle, if you have toys, if you have stuff like that, to sell some of that also. Just a beginner in all of this to start it all. Blind Prime, I'll answer yours. There will always be, at least, because I know that Colin, who runs TFCon, he really likes Orlando, he really likes LA, he really likes Washington, and he really likes Chicago. Those are 4 locations that I feel will be revisited every couple of years. Like LA is like every second year or every year. Chicago is every second year. Washington is every second year. Those are the safer ones, because there's always been some locations they happen once and then it's like, yeah, let's not do that again. Some of them are rough. Like what was the Shardicon? Charlotte? That one wasn't good. Shardicon, which was the old Shardicon location in Charlotte. That wasn't good. TFCon Charlotte, not good. Not good. Not going back there. So there's certain ones that are like, it's like utility laws, etc. They're crazy here. Everything is messed up here. Well, then again, I'm going to quote something that I know it got me in heat with some fans, but I'm going to stand by it. The human race is a race of nomads. We have our entire lives as humans have moved when we needed to survive. And we've been the country that you live in, that you celebrate and love, was people that moved to here in order to survive. And my parents-in-law moved here in order to survive. Humans are natural nomads. If you have to move in order to make your life better, even if it might be uncomfortable at first, uncomfortableness goes away. But comfortableness forever, for 2 months or 3 months of suffering for 50 years of happiness, it's better to do that. Way better to do that. T-Formers 2002, the fact Shardicon was only 1 year should tell you that it didn't work out. Yeah, well, that's how it works. Look, if they go to a location, they never go back to it. I mean, you don't have to be an expert on that one. TFCon Orlando, again, they revisit it. There's certain locations that have a good cachet that when it's revisited, oh, there's an audience here. Oh, there's a good turnout. Oh, the voice actors and the guests and stuff are willing to fly out here and it's not too expensive and it's easy from the hotel and it's easy from the airport. Very important things. Very important. Oh, parking is good. Oh, food and catering is good. Hotel doesn't suck. There's no headaches with Ubers or anything. Pure Blood 100% with the $5 super chat. If any of you need a career path to get into the wastewater and water pump business, 26 years own, my own industry. Well, I will tell you this right now, Pure Blood. Any trade, take it from me, mechanics, any trade. When I went into mechanics, they were also teaching us, while we were in our mechanic school, they were teaching us welding, because you have to, weld mufflers and stuff like that when you're a mechanic and fix certain things. But they were teaching us welding, and our teachers literally taught us, like, when you graduate from here, if somehow mechanics isn't your thing, like, oh, all of a sudden you don't like cars for whatever reason, you realize you don't want to work around cars anymore. Now you have at least a welding degree that comes from being a mechanic. Go into welding. There's so many different industries that on paper don't sound like these great office jobs, but they pay so much better than anything you could ever imagine and have stability. A plumber makes more money than a doctor in the long run, and he's his own boss, and he doesn't have to work a night shift, and he doesn't have to go into medical school for a million years and never see his family. Oh no, I don't have the DR in front of my name on my credit card. Who cares? You'll be laughing to the bank every day, and you could say that you're Super Mario, you know? My grandfather was a plumber. The dude was a machine, okay? Go into those industries, It's the safest bet. It sounds silly, like, oh, don't go into higher education. Look, if your goal in life involves that higher education, that's fine. But if you are someone who is wayward and you don't have a path in life, I'm telling you, some of those trades are going to be something you'll have for life, and you are going to be laughing. You are going to be laughing, my friend. Patrick Brown. Hell, I'm in Louisiana and 2 local bedroom, 2 bath rent is like 1,003. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that you have to move, man. You have to move. Look, even here in Montreal, and this is Canadian dollars, you could probably find, no joke, in Montreal, probably like a 5.5 duplex apart for like 1,000 Canadian, easily. And that's 1,000 Canadian. So, like, let's say 750 American. Now, granted, you have to be a Canadian, so maybe that might be a problem for some people. But and again, people move. People move. I'm not going to use only just my example, but anywhere there's people move to survive. So sometimes you can't just sit in your one place and go like, well, it's here or nowhere. There's nothing wrong with sidetracking the chat link, CW. It's life, and I'm pretty sure there's other people here that, while they might not be experiencing it, they might one day, and they'll know that at least if this conversation happened, that knowledge is in their mind. It's a way to learn. It's a way to learn, my friend. It's a way to learn. It helps everyone here, even if they don't think it's helpful. And yeah, I think we lost like maybe 20 or 30 viewers because those 20 or 30 viewers don't care and they only want to hear about robots. But it's valuable knowledge that I guarantee later on in their life, if they're in a rough situation, but they skipped this conversation, they have no right to complain because they had an opportunity to learn something. And that's the biggest epidemic I find when it comes to people, is they don't want to learn. They don't want to learn. It's almost like knowledge is poison to them. And that knowing something is almost something to be embarrassed about, which is silly. And it sounds crazy, and especially like considering this is literally the entire MO of this podcast is knowledge and learning and everything. But God, like some people, it's very sad how it is. Patrick Brown, bro, welding and electronics and electricians make filthy money. Yeah, of course. 100%. 100%. Shout out to my buddy Robert, who does welding in Montreal in the mechanic industry. I don't know what he makes a living, but he's very comfortable. He's very comfortable. I don't know what his paycheck is, but he's probably living very comfortable just doing welding for pipes. Literally sewage pipes, welding, crushes it. So I'm sure he's doing just fine. And machine work once in a while. T-Formers 2002. Been living in an apartment for 20 years, and rent is very reasonable. It's a small place, but at least I have a place where I go every night. And again, it's something that I'm pretty sure you have a foundation. You have to have a base. You have to have a base that's safe. That's the most important thing. Snell World. We have a big vegetable garden. Well, that's good too. I wish I lived in a part of the world where I had like 24-hour like summer kind of situation instead of just winter that destroys everything, man, I'd be making my own stuff too all the time. I would love to do my own blueberries because I love blueberries and I'm always like, "Ugh, I always have to buy them, you know? David Cabal, what's up, brother? I love these conversations playing X-Men Arcade while listening. That's awesome. Who are you maining? Who are you maining? Are you Colossus? He's the most broken in that game. Uh, Bigum, being a grimy millwright isn't glamorous, but it sure helps with the bills. As long as it's, I always say, as long as it's something that has stability, you know? I hate someone if they brag about a job that they have. Oh, I work at Google. And then they're unemployed 6 months later, you know? But you're a plumber, you work with shit all day, but you pull down a guaranteed 100K every day, every month, every year for the rest of your life, bro, you won. That guy at Google, that guy that works for a video game company or whatever, they're the ones that lost. Trust me. Trust me. You're maining Cyclops. He has a thin beam, though. Sometimes it doesn't hit with Cyclops. Him and Dazzler are the tougher ones to make hits with their mutant power. Link CW, shit. You think I'm not embarrassed? I'm very embarrassed saying what I failed because of it. I mean, look. Never use your age to say, "Oh, I'm at this age, so I have failed." Okay. Colonel Sanders. Colonel Sanders didn't make any money in his life until he was in his like 70s or 80s. You know, it's better that you learn now, even at 44, how to get your act together than it is to never get it at all. And there's nothing embarrassing about learning. There's nothing embarrassing about changing yourself. There's nothing embarrassing about understand. I had one frame of belief on how one should live their life, and then you gain knowledge and understand how the world works, and then you have a completely different frame of belief on how you live your life. And there's too many distractions right now around us as human beings. There's too much socio-political stupidity, all the gender stuff and the religious stuff and the this, that, and the wars and the politics, and everyone just and fighting each other on social media with a person that you'll never meet and never talk to and never. Get rid of all of that out of your life as much as humanly possible. As much as humanly possible. If that stuff is rumbling in your brain every day, you are not going to move forward in life. You will not. The second you phase all that stuff out, and here's a spoiler, as someone who works with people who are very rich in certain industries, they don't pay attention to any of that stuff unless there's money to be made. Otherwise, they don't even think about it because they're thinking about the next thing, something to actually worry about, the real things to worry about in life. Timmy K points at Proto. Can I move into your basement? I can take care of buyers. I don't know if the wife would appreciate that though. uh, Brother, everyone has to find their way. You know what I mean? You have to have your own, self-sufficientness as a person. And then when you meet somebody, and if like this goes back to the beginning, if it's someone who truly is a partner in crime with you and someone that's going to be with you, and you combine two incomes together, you should be able to, first of all, take care of yourself on a single income. And then that should be comfortable. And then you bring in a second person, you could combine those incomes and then really be smart and working together, you become unstoppable. A wife or a girlfriend or a boyfriend for some of you, if that's the Batman to your Robin, you become an awesome team, and then nothing could stop you. But you got to have the right people in your life. And sometimes that's always an issue. Patrick Brown, I'm 32 and trying to learn Spanish. I don't need it all, but it seems like a solid endeavor that might benefit me one day. If Spanish benefits you as a language in your area, that's all I'm going to say. If you're trying to learn Japanese and see how it'll benefit you in New York City, unless you're working for a Japanese restaurant, I don't know. But if Spanish works for you in your area and somehow will be beneficial, go for it. It's like being in Montreal. If you don't speak French, you're not going to get very far, Prince of Phalanx 59. It's only called failing if you not continue to try. Of course. Of course. But it's so much easier to quit. That's the problem with people. It's so much easier to quit. Uh David Cabal, enter the time chamber, Dragon Ball, train. Well, the hyperbolic time chamber, as Mr. David is referring to, I wish was a real thing. But unfortunately is not the case, because then I would do all my podcast segments in there because they take a lot of time. I would go into the time changer, work on the podcast, and come out a minute later and get it all done. Patrick Brown, Cajun French is dying out and being replaced with Spanish speakers. Well, there you go. And that's the reality of the evolution of life, you know? That's the reality. Look, 120 years ago, there wasn't as many French speakers here in Montreal, but things change over time. And who knows, 120 years from now, maybe there will be no French in Montreal, but we don't know. You always got to be ready for that moment and have the tools that you need to survive in that moment. Sadly, only 2 years per person, though. What are we referring to here? Did I miss something? 2 years per person. I must have missed a conversation. But yeah, hope that kind of helps a little bit. I know that we kind of went a little bit off the rails in terms of conversations, but this is important stuff, guys. It is important stuff. Too many times it kills me to see people that I consider friends, people that I care about, who are not on the right track in their life when it comes to financially, career-wise, or just personal happiness. You know, I got lucky. I don't want to say that I had the secret sauce early on. I just got lucky, and then because I got lucky, I was able to navigate with that luck that was given to me. Like, everyone was dealt different cards. I was lucky. I didn't get a blackjack. I didn't get a 20. I didn't get a 19. I got like a solid 17, and I was able to coast with that 17 in blackjack terms and get by with what I learned. And then what I learned from it to then survive everything else and do well with it. David Cabal, this is great. I've had many conversations with Protoman. He's helped guide me for many years. I love to continue to learn from well, David, we've had a lot of one-on-one conversations many times. So like we've always been close and stuff. So, but that's why the people that in my life, when I'm able to talk to them, and again, what I'm saying, I understand it might not apply to everybody because everyone has their own stories. Everyone, just location alone could completely derail from what I'm talking about, and it has to be adjusted and changed because different cities have different opportunities. If you live in a small town as opposed to a big city, and of course expensive rent as opposed to cheap rent, depending on where you live, you know, but the point is that regardless of that fact, even though everyone has a different situation, every situation is fixable, adjustable, understandable, and solvable as long as you apply yourself and understand it. Everything is a puzzle that can be solved. You just have to put the effort in. Or you could just flip over the table, let the puzzle pieces fly everywhere, and quit. But the people who quit, those are our Walmart greeters. Those are our Amazon delivery guys. Those are our people that are making our drink at Starbucks, you know? And I'm going to say that with total confidence because I worked at Burger King for 6 years. And I was surrounded with people that would go on to do stuff with their life. And I was surrounded with people that were still going to be working at Burger King until they're dead, you know? Shout out to people, I don't want to say their names, but, you know, and they're still there 20 years later. 20 years later, they're still there, you know? That's how life is. Time of the end. What's your take on the making of Star Convoy the 13th? I like the Star Convoy toy. I like that it comes with an update of my boy Hot Rod. I think it looks really cool. It being a Titan class, sure. I mean, it's a Titan class that pretty much is a Siege era commander class. If you buy commander class Jetfire from Siege, and then you see what commanders were back then, that's what the modern day Titans are. So I think it's a glorified commander class that's a Titan price point, for lack of better words, in a inflation world post COVID, for lack of better words, to answer that one. Looks great. I love the Japanese design. I love that the base mode is there. I love that it has Hot Rod. I love the blast effects. I love that it comes with the Zodiac. I think it's cool. That's all I could say about that. Snell's World, $5 super chat. What is the great masterpiece Rodimus Prime? What is a great masterpiece Rodimus Prime to win MP10? I don't think MP10 is. Excuse me. I don't think MP09 masterpiece Rodimus is any good to be your masterpiece Rodimus. I think we will get something that'll be better later on. Japan loves Hot Rod, loves Rodimus Kumboy or Hot Rodimus. They'll revisit him at some point and do it. I think the MPG Masterpiece Generations that we're going to be getting now, I think they'll revisit Hot Rod at some point, and then Proto Man will be a very, very happy man. This podcast never goes off the rails. It always goes off the rails. The Zodiac alone is worth the pickup, says the T-Formers 2002. Indeed it is. Indeed it is. Patrick Brown, Proto Man, I have never played a Mega Man game. Gasp. I have them all on emulation. Where do I start to get the most out of the lore? I would suggest start with Mega Man 2, only because if you play Mega Man 1, there's nothing really you're gaining in terms of story. You're just playing the first Mega Man game that had those first legendary 6 Robot Masters. I always felt that Mega Man 2 is learning all the mistakes programming-wise from Mega Man 1 and making a better game. And Mega Man 2, unlike Mega Man 1, actually has a little bit of story in it. Mega Man 1, you play it, yeah, there's an end screen, nothing much, and it's a tough game to beat Mega Man 1. Where Mega Man 2, it has an easy mode, so if you're new to the jump and shoot genre, great place to start. Then play Mega Man 3. Then play Mega Man 4, Mega Man 5. You can move to the X Series afterwards. X Series, unfortunately, even though it came out a little bit after Mega Man 6 came out, and Mega Man 7, before Mega Man 7 on the Super Nintendo, the story line-wise is much more in the future. Start with the original series. That's where I would start. When you start reading my books, though, you're going to appreciate it more after you play the games. Play the games first, then read my books. You'll appreciate it more because I was slavishly loyal to the source material. And if you're a fan of it, you'll appreciate what I put in the background and stuff like that. So we did a lot of good work with the crew, and we're going to do a lot more good work in the future. I promise you that. I will not fail the Mega Man community. I will say this right now. I will not fail the Mega Man community with this book. As someone that has worked with guys in the comics and stuff like that based on IPs and brands, sometimes they hire people that go into business for themselves and they don't understand the brands. And then there's some people that are willing to not go. I am not looking to create my own lore, my own deep, complex story. I am going to stay true to the source material and build from that and use that as a foundation to create something that everyone hopefully will enjoy. And that's all I'm hoping. But I will not fail you, I promise that. Let's just do a few more questions and then we'll call it quits for tonight. Eyes on the ace. I'm going to keep 86 op as my 13th. That's one way to go about it. The 13th is always the Matrix holder, so it could be Rodimus. Patrick Brown, Link, what have you done so far with your career? What jobs? Okay, so we'll get into that at another point in the future because that's a whole big conversation. Always try to play through all the Mega Man games using only Buster Gun. Well, let's not go crazy on the guy yet. Let him do his thing. Let him do his thing. Let him discover the brand first, and then we can go do our own little personal goals and missions. X Series is your favorite series, but I never played the Zero games. Zero games are fantastic too. They're just a little harder. So that's why I always tell people play original series, get good at those, play X Series. It'll level you up in terms of accessibility of difficulty. And then Zero Series and ZX, which is, handheld, they kind of make them a little more tough from that perspective. But yeah. And the last one we'll do, and it'll be T-Formers 2002. From what we are talking about in DMs earlier, you're talking about the comics. Would you recommend getting all 5 of the Mega Man one-shots or just sticking with yours since you're getting the ongoing? So I wish I had a screenshot to show you. So of the ongoings, there's going to be 5 of them. One of original series, one of X series, which is going to be me. One of the Zero series, one of the ZX series, and one of Mega Man Legends. All of them are their own standalone story that has one little small thing interconnecting all of them. I don't want to spoil what that is, but even though, and if you don't read one, you're not missing out on anything. It's just a little fun thing that because it's not currently an ongoing, it will be later, but we'll stay tuned for that. But my book, I'm for sure getting a whole multi-year thing. Don't worry. But the other ones, we'll see how their sales are. The whole point of doing the 5 books essentially is to see which ones sell well. Let's just say pre-orders on my book have been good. So I'm going to be just fine. But like if you're like a fan of Mega Man Legends and you want to see more Mega Man Legends material, be sure to pre-order that book and hopefully it'll get greenlit to get an ongoing series or something or more of it. So that's all I'll say really about that. But there is a small little thing connecting them. It's nothing too mind-breaking, but we put a little something just to kind of connect them, just so if you did read all of them, you have something going on there. But if you don't, you're not missing out on anything too major either. If you want to just read Mega Man Zero series stuff, that's your favorite series, go for it. And there'll be more of that later on if sales are good, you know. Link CW, hey Proto, thank you. I do appreciate your advice and love you, man. Yeah, could have not cared. I want people to live good lives. I've always been someone that's always been on the outside looking in life. And when I see people that are suffering or when they're putting too much time and energy into something that I know for a fact will not benefit them, again, people always look at my social media and they're boggled by the fact that I don't follow nobody. Because they'll look at any of their other influencer friends. Oh, look at these influencers; they're following hundreds of people. Or they'll look at this guy that they really like. Oh, they're following. How come Proto Man is following nobody? And it's not disrespect to those people. It's just that I don't make social media and the annoying buzz of negativity in the world my life. I look at what's in front of me. Can't see me. I look at what's in front of me and I focus on that because that's what's real. What's in front of me is what's real. This bottle is real. Telling me that the water turns the frogs gay is not something I'm going to listen to. I listen to the real world. You know what I mean? Like the craziness that I see on social media is insane. That I just tune that stuff out way too often. Way too often because it's crazy and people make it their lives and they go on Facebook and they just fight with people and then they go on Twitter and they fight with people and then they try to see something that I post and they try to fight with me and then I don't reply and they get confused because I don't care about your anger, you know. If you're angry, maybe that's something you need to figure out. It's not my responsibility, you know. And sometimes when people are angry on the internet, maybe the best thing to do is to walk away from it for a bit. Go for a walk, you know. Go for a walk, breathe. It's good. It gets the blood circulating, gets the endorphins up, you know. You'll feel better about yourself afterwards, you know. Anyways, guys, I'm out of here. We had a crazy one today. A lot of crazy stuff. I'll talk to y'all later. Great stuff, great talk, great chat. I'm going to go spend time with the little lady. Got a whole bunch of Transformer product to open up. Actually, one last thing. Picked up the Minecraft meal thing, because I wanted to get Grimace, and I got Grimace. So maybe I am lucky in life. I just wanted that one. That one was cool. I'm not even a big Minecraft guy, but I just like Grimace. He's kind of cool. So she wanted the birdie. We didn't get the birdie. We got Grimace. We're good. We're good. But anyways, guys, I didn't even see the Minecraft movie. I just thought that was kind of cool. I like my video game merch. Anyways, guys, take care. I love you all. Once again, if you want to help support the podcast, we got Patreon, wherever it is, Patreon link somewhere. It's down. I think it's down there, the Patreon link. Come support me on the Patreon if you want to help support the podcast. Gives you access to the Discord. when we do the exclusives, it gives you access to the exclusives if you want those too, because we will have new exclusives at TFCon Toronto. So if you can't come to TFCon Toronto, I do keep a small batch aside for my Patreon people. So let me know what you think about all of that when the time comes. But otherwise, take care. Take care of your loved ones, your friends, your families. And I'm out of here. Peace.